Elden Ring has one of the most rich and complex worlds of any modern video game. From world to enemy design, you can tell that hundreds upon hundreds of hours were spent meticulously crafting the world. But have you ever wondered what it'd be like to actually live there? Today, the global markets are shakier than ever, and no one can afford even the bare necessities. So when you're playing games trying to unwind, have you ever found yourself considering how the logistics of the world would actually hold up? You see, after my 20th run of Elden Ring, I realized something. Wait a minute, doesn't this just exist in real life? Meaning that if we can find its real life equivalent value, we can find the exchange rate between runes and real life dollars, and with that, map out the entire economy of the lands between. And with that, you can decide for yourself if it's better to live here or in the real world. Anyways, ITSYAKOI here and welcome to the pond, because we're diving deep. So, to get an initial baseline, I decided to go with items with the easiest real life comparisons. Those being meat, arrows, and weapons. So let's start with what I thought would be the easiest. Over here in East Limgrave lies our first merchant, or more specifically, butcher in this case, because he sells us slivers of meat, which are described as a slice of thinly carved beast flesh, found by hunting herbivorous beast. The dried meat toughens the constitution. Now almost immediately I hit two roadblocks. First of all, I don't know how much this meat weighs, and second of all, where it even comes from, because it can drop from bunnies, lamb, or deers alike. So, since the game never tells us how much this meat weighs or where it even comes from, I decided to compare it to thin cuts of rabbit, lamb, and venison and averaged out the prices. Those being a round steak for the deer, some rabbit tenderloins, and a lamb sirloin. So if we combine all this together and average them out, we get roughly $25 per slice of meat. And if we convert that to its value in-game, we get an exchange rate of roughly $1 Canadian to 20 in-game runes. Now the closest thing I could find to wooden arrows with metal was this listing on Etsy, which is roughly $52 for 9 arrows. So dividing that, we get $6 per arrow. And looking online, I found this hatchet for $23. And so if we look back at the conversions, we see some pretty similar numbers here, but the arrows really throw off our numbers. So what's going on, you might be asking? Well, in my opinion, since they're so bountiful across the lands between, it seems that they're devaluing their price just because they're so easy to come by. So I decided to disregard that number. But if we look online, I found this great sword, which heavily resembles the Bastard Sword, which sells for 3,000 runes. Comparing its price to its real life counterpart, we get a conversion of roughly $1 Canadian being worth 12 runes. So if we take all that together now, and we average it out, we get the exchange rate of roughly $1 Canadian to 20 in-game runes. So with that in hand, it's time to find the power of the dollar in Elden Ring. So I'm thinking that we start with the basics, like soap, which is $20, damn! Yeah, you can buy a cookbook for $300, or a single egg for $30. Thanks, America. Actually, edible meat for $100, but the worst one has to be this guy here, who sells a single prawn for $30. Like, this is seriously worse than Eraron's pricing.
What? That's just 30,000 runes.
So you might be asking yourself, what's gouging on? Huh? Like price gouging? I mean, there's gotta be something affordable here, right? And that's where things get interesting. Because most of the weaponry in the game is pretty reasonably priced. You can get a whole chain armor set for $225, a shoulder for $125, because why not? And you can't forget, a literal magic staff for $40. That's literally cheaper than the game itself. So, much like the real world, all our money goes to the military. But not only that, now that we have this conversion rate, we can find the price of fictional items. So let's take a look at a few examples. You can buy a larval tear for $150, which is just a complete steal. Sick? Why not buy a spell that rivals modern medicine for $50? And the most expensive Somber Stone never goes above $1,250. Meaning that it costs less than $5,000 to level up a Somber weapon to +9. And if we extend this idea of power scaling, what about our stats? Theoretically, if you want to max out your character, you would have to spend exactly $84,628,342.10. And listen, I know that sounds like a huge number, but trust me on this, some paintings have gone for more. But this has all just been me. Have you ever wondered what the price of a life is? Well, if we look at the actual remembrances of bosses in the game, we can find out how much they're appraised for. That being kinda pathetic. To start, the first demigods you encounter in the game, Renala or Godric, are pretty cheap, being worth only $1,000. And you think as the game progressed, maybe that they would get more expensive, But even the late game bosses like Rykard and Melania are only worth 2,500 bucks. And everyone else just kind of sits in the middle ground around there. I mean, how much does Concert Radon cost? I mean, he's probably the hardest boss that From Software has ever made. He can't be cheap. He's 2,500 bucks. 2,500. And all the other bosses of the DLC are around that same price range, like the Sunflower, which is 2,000 bucks. So these guys' souls aren't worth anything, to be honest, but there's no way that can be right. This can't be the full story. There has to be something going on here. And that's when I realized we might be getting scammed by everyone. Assuming this was a fair economy, you'd presume that we could sell some of our items for a similar value that we bought them for. You know, maybe at a 30-50% decrease, but no. Armor, 93% decrease. Meat, 98% decrease. The Bastard Sword depreciates by 97%. The best deal you get is on your wand, which depreciates at 12.5%. So not only are we being price gouged, but the second we do buy something, the depreciation kicks in mercilessly. So what the hell's going on? Now, this all could just be a gameplay mechanic. You know, maybe From Software didn't want players getting rich too quickly. But this is Elden Ring we're talking about. A game where every mechanic helps reinforce the world's lore. There's no way this could have just been an accident. And maybe it isn't an accident. Maybe these prices are reflective of the actual society that we live in. So get your suit on, because we're talking about economics. Because the Golden Order collapsed, there's no more global trade, as the regions have divided themselves into local markets. This isn't your average market where you go and buy overpriced strawberries. You're paying $500 for some gravel. These isolated merchants not only hold a local monopoly on selling you stuff, but also on buying your gear, trapping you in a captive market. Everyone knows that you have nowhere else to go, so you have no buying power. And also, these resources are so scarce, it's not like you're getting them off of Temu. Shit, never mind. And everyone's also just desperate as hell, so everyone's going to the extreme. But also, like, what are they gonna do with someone's soul? I don't think that pays rent around here. So instead of fair trade, you're getting a massive middle finger in the form of a 97% price drop. Basically, the difference in price between what a merchant sells you something and the price that you can sell it usually has a deficit. However, this can vary. And in the real world, this varies a lot based on things like quality, demand, and general scarcity. And you can see this play out if you go into like a thrift store, because some vintage teas go for like $500. But in the lands between, it's comedically low against you. All this culminates in monopolies on the market of the world, causing the lands between to be a real nightmare, because you know it was so great before. But that's when I realized, maybe this isn't a broken economy. Maybe it's a rigged one. But I want you to think about one thing. Every vendor is doing this. And unless there's some secret group chat where they're coordinating all this, there's no way this is just happening by accident. You see, in the lanes between, the Tarnished aren't just outsiders, they're the completely stripped, graceless individuals. They are the others in this world. And when you look at the numbers through that lens, everything starts to add up. Why are weapons so cheap? Because this world was built on blood and conquest. Things like soap, fresh food, the literal markers of human dignity, those are priced like luxury items. All with the goal of trying to keep you in your place, in the dirt. This isn't just a mechanic, this is another way that the developers are actively helping flesh out the environment and lore of the game. It makes everything truly oppressive against your existence, while giving diegetic examples of how discrimination interacts with both social and economic dynamics. The lanes between don't just look broken, they function like a broken society. My god, Miyazaki, you're a genius. Or maybe not. Now if you'll excuse me, I have to go put a mortgage down on my groceries. Anyways, thanks for stopping by the pond. ITSYAKOI here, and I'm out. By god, Miyazaki, you're a Jesus. What? By god, Miyazaki, you're a genius.